After Monday podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. And this is where we discuss anything creative in Malawi. So it is a space where we discuss so much to do with the Malawi creative space. So thank you so much for joining us. And my name is Joy. It's a pleasure to be back on After Monday podcast. And we've got so much to talk about on this day. And with me is Chikweba.
You're struggling.
Struggling.
Chikweba.
Chikweba.
Yes.
With a B.
Yes. The B. Yeah, but yeah, it's good to be here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's been so much that's happening, and this is where we like to share so much in terms of what is happening in Malawi. And there's several issues we'd like to touch on, but the first one I'm interested in is I've noticed that for starters, it's this is going to be interesting because it's kind of something you've done before, and because there was a time whereby we used to believe that Malawian artists cannot work with managers. But then we are seeing that at least there's several artists in Malawi who are managed by managers, and it seems that things are going on very well. Believe you me, in the short time of being in the industry in Malawi in terms of entertainment.
Did you just say short time?
Short time. We've seen artists and the managers be on each other's necks, even take each other sue each other, go to lawyers, get lawyers, threaten each other. But now I think we've reached a space and a time whereby we're getting to understand the importance of having a manager.
Yeah.
You've managed not only artists, but personalities and different fields. And how easy has it made for artists to understand the importance of maybe having managers?
No, I think it's growth. I think we most of the times I think we fail to progress because we are limiting ourselves with the knowledge and time that we're on at that level. But if you look at it, I think I've spoken about this, where Malawi is where we're supposed to be, and that's not just the entertainment sector or the creative industry. I think that's for everything, and then sometimes we try to lose ourselves because we are comparing ourselves with maybe an established entity or other spaces that have already been, probably moved or progressed in that way. But for me, the biggest take home in something that I can take home in this is growth. Being able to appreciate that it's all about time, and then allowing yourself to go through the process of life, and levels will eventually change as time goes. It also allows people to learn a few things that probably they never understood the time that they started to do it. So we're still in the knowledge phase where we're getting to understand a lot of things, and that's not just about the management aspect. Because don't look at it as management, you should look at it as a revolution that's happening in the industries. And it's something that will still need more time. And most times we say, okay, artists need a lot of, we usually say this, a lot of artists in Malawi need managers. In my view, I always say, before we go and to the conversation about artists needing managers, maybe the artist or the creative industry needs to have knowledge first and understand what that is. Because even if you push artists or managers to have artists, or artists to have managers, without having the proper foundation, which is the knowledge that is needed, it will still be a problem. So where we're getting now is us to recognize, okay, we are in the information stage, we are in the knowledge phase where we are learning about a lot of things, and we don't have to get everything right at the same time. We have to progress, because even conflict is also a sign of that people are trying to learn something new. And that is very important in any growth that we take. So getting to a place where now people are recognizing it, it's not just about the creative industry, but it's the fact that we're accepting as a nation, as communities, but okay, this is where we're supposed to be going. And in that, we shouldn't be thinking that we are late. That's the other problem, that sometimes we think, okay, we need to jump and rush it. But now that we are getting there, now we understand. Now then we get to a place where we're like, okay, fine. What is it that you're actually looking for? Is it a manager? Is it a sponsor? Is it just a promoter? What is a label? What is a 360 deal? Is it just management? Is it recording and distribution? So all these things are all things that now, when we're delving into this conversation, it will now start to make sense. Like, okay, here we're supposed to treat ABCD. And then whatever that we know, which is from YouTube, ChatGPT and everything, we now need to put it into context of where we are. Because now we have learned about managers, but now we shouldn't take the curricula or the system that other entities use, We need to formulate something that works with our industry, where we are. Because whatever it is that we need to go through, it's us, not anyone else but us. So whether we're going to say, it's the same thing, when you say you're buying a new car in Malawi, you pretty much saying a car that's going to have like 80,000 kilometers. And then you don't have to treat it, it's like a proper new, you have to remember that I need to still service it and all those things. Meaning that when we tell our friends that I'm buying a new car, which is 80,000 kilometers, they'll think, what do you mean it's new? But that's our story. That's our story. We own it. We live it. So we know how to handle that. We understand that. Someone else from outside wouldn't. You understand? So it's very important to put context to every other aspect of knowledge and information that we get, and whatever progress you're trying to make will actually center around that.
I think this is going to be a whole podcast whereby we're going to, talk about the whole issue about artists, managers, management, and all that. So,
yeah.
but maybe just finally on this one, who is supposed to identify who? Who is supposed to find who? Artist, manager, or it goes both ways? Because I'm saying so because I've seen whereby artists, very good artists, but they're under management or they've got a manager, but it seems that they are wrongfully placed or they are misplaced. Maybe they are not working well and all that.
No, but like I said, this is what I keep saying. There's no formula to what works and what doesn't work with the creative industry. And I want people to understand that reality. It's not like, because it worked for this, it means that will also work for that. Every brand has a DNA, and that DNA is different to any other, and we are supposed to work hard and to make sure that our DNA is really as different as it should be. There's nothing new that we're going to create, but also we have to create something unique. So that's the struggle that needs to happen. When you ask and says who needs to find who, that is us now undermining or maybe not fully understanding how that is not just a personal decision. It's an industry requirement.
You know why I'm saying so? Because of late, I've seen one personality, I would say, whether they are a social media influencer, but they have a manager. But the posts that they're putting up, this person is going against or they are in conflict with another person on social media. So people were asking to say, doesn't this person have a manager to say that they're supposed to advise each other? Because whatever is happening with this person, people are saying it's kind of childish because,
No, but that's the thing. That's what I was saying about sometimes for individuals, right? It's very hard for you to know the brand DNA without understanding what they're trying to build, right? Sometimes there are brands that I know they survive in chaos. If things are normal, there's no chaos in their career, in their lifeline, they don't survive.
How come you don't let your artists under your management?
No, but that would be me being biased. The only thing I can say is, like I said, every brand is supposed to have their DNA.
Okay.
And that DNA is very important. That's why your kids have this colored, because you understand. I can be there, I chat with Joy so many times.
That's a good example.
Yeah, how is it that my kid is not colored? You understand? That's what I mean. You have to look at it that way, that it's a proper brand DNA conversation. Every brand is supposed to have something that it settles on, whether by accident or whatever, but there's something that works. You understand? So now the trick is, in our conversations about the brand DNA, we have to be realistic in terms of what is expected of that brand. Because if I tell you today that I want you to know me as a as a soccer pundit. Like I'm a follower of football and everything. If you see me next week talking about netball or rugby, you'll be like, okay, he's in sports, but that's not kind of sport that we knew him for, you know? So that is where the trick is. And now when you talk about, like, going back to the conversation about manager and creatives, the twist is, is understanding that you have to look at management as a position in an entity, right? The way we have NBC or whatever company, you know, they have a hierarchy of the structure. You know, there's a guy who handles just security, logistics, you know, accounts and all those things. It's not about whether someone who is an accountant can also do security, but there has to be an accountant and a security guy. All these guys, it's not like this one is superior to the other. Everyone exists for their own reasons, and their existence is the reason why there's a structure. So if we get to that conversation about artists or just creatives and management, if we look at it and say, oh, okay, there's a brand, right, named Prince. So in that Prince brand, it's let's put it, it's a music brand, right? So in that brand, there has to be the face of that. So that becomes Wongani, you know, at Prince. So now Wongani, my job is to be the face, right? Now in that, there has to be a guy who sits down with the creatives and say, okay, this is our plan. And the first of all, obviously, as a manager, you need to know what Wongani wants to achieve through the face of Prince. So that is now roles being diversified, being, okay, at this, Ronaldo, his job at CR7 is him being the face. He's not the guy who's going to go in a meeting and talk about the progress or how long he needs to stay in Saudi Arabia. They will announce that he has signed that 7 years or whatever he's doing, whatever. But he's not the guy who sits down and says, this is what we're trying to map. You understand? Because his role, which he's good at, is him being the face, is being on the field. Him being available at his specific role. But that doesn't mean that whoever is doing the driving, whoever is doing the meetings, whoever is under or above someone, all of them are existing knowing that this is my role and this is my role. None of it needs to crash. That's us. We need to understand that the guy who signs my check in the finance department is not my boss because I'm the one who went to do sales for him. All of us are existing. We are working on a space where this is what I do, this is what you do for the common goal of the brand. So the biggest misconception is getting at a place where you think there is a boss. Because everyone else has this star mentality. Everyone wants to shine, which is where a lot of the things sometimes go wrong. And that is what, because all of us are born with ego. If you don't understand your role, you end up brushing off other people's ego. And sometimes it's really dangerous. That comes in when the knowledge that we have gotten, we haven't fully sieved it to a place where it gets us to understand what we're supposed to be doing. Do your role and exist in that moment for that. You are not less of a human if you accept your role. If I'm here to speak and I don't allow a cameraman to do his job, not only am I undermining the cameraman, but I'm also depriving myself to get the full service that I can get from a cameraman. So if we exist knowing that's how it is, that's the best way. You understand? It's like you get in a plane, you just believe pilots know what they're doing. Mm. You don't go in there. Actually, probably the only way maybe planes travel.
There's sanity.
There's sanity is because everyone gets in there knowing that, okay, don't, even when you're walking in the airport, everyone has knowing that you can go in the pilots, you understand? Not that you can fly or you can't land, but at that moment you're just a passenger. Even if there's another pilot in the plane, the pilot will not just jump and go, you understand? So that is something that we have to understand, and that is our role, for us to fully agree.
So a question would be, what do you do to talent that does something that is out of character?
Most of the times it's like in a relationship. When someone does something that is crazy, there's a 90% chance that you knew they were capable of doing something like that. and sometimes we enable these activities to happen. It's because if we want to work with an artist, right, or creative, I would suggest that you get to a place where you understand what you want to build, and that does not happen because you think there's talent. I think a lot of talent is there. Well, if I can speak for me, as a manager, my first thought has never been about the talent, has always been about the potential. And the potential is open-ended because it's a potential of character, it's a potential of talent. These two combined are creating what we're calling now the brand, right?
So I think that's enough. We are now going into
the technicalities.
Yes. great, but that's well understood. And thank you so much. I wanted to find out more and also take advantage of the fact that you've done a lot of management and you've managed a lot of artists, which is incredible. And talking about growth, which you mentioned earlier in terms of the Malawi creative space and everything else, we've seen something interesting in the past couple of days whereby Kosoma, it's a very touchy issue, the Kosoma. A lot of people want to talk about it, but then others don't want to talk about it. So what I want to bring to light is the fact that I think there's a lot of growth and movement in the sense that they have disbursed for the first time, 1.5 billion kwacha, which is a lot of money. And there's a huge difference from the last money they gave out. Of course, others will say that maybe it was because they're mentioning that it's a longer time span, but still that is a lot of money. And the amount of creatives who have benefited is a lot. So I just want to go to a point to say, at this particular moment in time, would artists be comfortable to say that we are benefiting from Kosoma, and also reach a point and say that people are now valuing our work and we can make something out of this, and confidently say, I'm an artist and I live out of music?
I think it's unfair on the creatives or for the whole industry to base the Kosoma disbandment as a way of to say artists can fully say, okay, I can survive. I think on our end is again the same conversation about management, and if it's not management but the career plan, right? You have to be able to create so many avenues that you can monetize. Maybe the first question is Malawi at a space where you can monetize talent? Yes, but it's not one avenue. We're grateful, like with these avenues that are there, Kosoma. And people also need to remember, Kosoma doesn't just give out money, Its one biggest responsibility is also to protect our copyrights. And that's something that people need to also recognize, because I think most of the times when you ask artists and said about Kosoma, the only thing is about, okay, they give us money. It's just maybe there has to be also a more diverse campaign or conversation in just allowing artists and creatives and as a country to see what actually Kosoma is on the table for. The money aspect, very important, obviously, but they only disperse, I think, twice a year. And I think, yes, it's very significant when the money comes in. But for me, it's the same conversation I always talk about. The reason why sometimes you get frustrated with a lot of artists, for instance, for you, is because artists are starting to be like a musician. They want to be a musician, but their only plan is, let me get the song on Joy Nathu's show. They don't have a plan after Monday.
After that,
what are you playing? Where is your song playing? On Tuesday, are you playing it somewhere else? On Wednesday, is your song playing? So sometimes when Joy says no, you can't have this on my show, it looks like Joy is the biggest hater you've ever met and has destroyed your life, Yet sometimes you also need to understand that you just need to be at a space where you can actually say, you know what? Let me have a plan for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday. Then maybe another Monday, if because yes, Kosoma is there, and you'll be dispersing this amounts of money, a very big growth in the industry. But artists need to either if they're deciding to join the industry, they shouldn't decide thinking that that's the only way. There has to be a way of us understanding that we need to find ways and other avenues to monetize our talent.
Because as you're saying that they just disperse money twice a year.
Yeah, it's about twice a year.
After that, what happens?
And then what happens? So that's why you would end up, if you have so many other avenues of making money and making a living out of your talent, I don't think you'd sit there and always have issues with how other things are actually happening in your life. And you would actually look at for solutions than it is with the problems that we already have. This is the other part. The problems we have are defining the things that we need to sort out, not that it will never change. Some of us, we fail to have solutions because we're focusing on the problem. Some of us, we are the solution. You understand? Like, because we dwell so much in the problem that is there, Malawi this, Malawi, and people don't support, Okay, let's go back and say, well, why are we having these things? Maybe we need to sit back and say, okay, why is it that I think people don't support us? That's something that would actually, okay, there are people that are doing this thing, but there's now me who is saying, you know what, maybe let me find out why we are here, and now that entities like Kosoma, obviously they're not the easiest to handle, right? Because there's so many other, I think normally it's how a lot of these entities are built. I don't think a lot of us understand how they operate. So our mind is always fixed on how we operate. So when we want to, let's say, launch a complaint to Kosoma, it's always at the time that there's a problem. And then they'll ask you, can you write a letter? And you think they're running away from you. It's because the entities, that's how they operate. For us, that's not how we operate. We go on Facebook and complain. And then you ask and say, did you formally, you understand? It's like if I have a missing person, I don't need to just write on Facebook because the police will be like, we don't know what you're talking about. I need to formally go and lodge a complaint that, okay, or report a missing person. So us as creatives as well, we need to keep ourselves. That's why I said, before even we talk about creatives having managers, let's also go back. Before the managers, let's get the knowledge. Let's allow creatives understand. They don't have to be the one to do the work, but know what is required of you to exist. Because it doesn't stop just about you buying a camera. You have to have the knowledge of how lighting and all these other things. You don't have to be the guy to do the lighting, but you need to understand why lighting is important in your career as a cameraman. So that is where the most important part is. After Kosoma, after performance, after that, how are you monetizing your craft to get at a place where now you can say, okay, I'm inspiring even youngsters to understand that I can actually make something with this. And before you even complain, what are you doing and what platforms are you creating to make sure that we don't get stuck on where we are today? Because there has to be someone who, look at now, like the list of the most paid, maybe for the past, I don't know, 8 years. It's the new age and now. So when you go back and understand why that is happening, you realize that because there's a lot of made of Monday shows. There are a lot of, the Chekalondas playing on times. There are all these other, the Mark, I think Chikalipo, they started a dream. If no one stood up and said, let's make this urban music, Malawian music, you didn't have these urban artists now we call Malawian biggest earners. So that is where I think the biggest issue in terms of expectations of how the industry can actually change. And that is not because someone just woke up and did it. Someone had to say, you know what, I think we have a problem there. Let's do this, let's do that. Before saying, no one is doing anything about it. That's how I look at it.
It's great times, I think. We are going into very wonderful times. And talking about wonderful times, let me put you on the spot now. Past couple of months, we had the Kabula Festival. And for the first time, it's hosted by Kabula Diaries. It's always in a fixed space, but this time around, you took Kabula Diaries to a different space whereby it was a Kabula Festival. And there's so many questions I can ask because there was a lot of reaction after Kabula Festival happened. But the only thing I want to find out now is, was the reaction what you expected from people who attended?
No, I think it would be, again, very unfair for me to speak.
That's what I want. Yeah.
No, it would be unfair for me to speak from the fans or people that are patronized. But I think we can only speak about the production. I think getting into a place where you dream and visualize something and it gets to life, I think that's where everything from a creative point of view, it's where the biggest, it's the stardom of everything, being able to dream. It's like you, if I ask you and said, met on Monday, the first day it went on air, and then you finished 3 hours of just Malawian music and talking and then how you expressed. I don't think you would even want to talk about how people felt. You would rather talk about how you felt, knowing that whatever you planned, whatever you wanted to execute is what has actually come out to light. So in our view, whatever we planned, what we wanted to execute, we are grateful that it happened. And everything else that comes with that, whether people were happy or unhappy, it's feedback we'll get, but it's secondary. The most important part for us was to get at a place where let's get the festival how we want it to be. And it running for 48 hours and being able to do it from A to Z, it's where everything was centered at. Everything else was a plus. Like how people felt, trust me, that's something that we can listen and hear. But the most is the team delivered and what we said we should. That for us, that was what was very important. And I think as a creative, that's where the most meat is at. Knowing, Goody, you planned, okay, we want to do a podcast. Okay, you think about it for months and everything. The day that you shoot it and you actually finish all of it, even if before you release it, I think the joy of knowing that your dreams make sense and they've been curated by people around you and you're getting to the very end. I think that's the most important part. So everything else is a bonus.
And talking about it being the first, I believe you are bound and definitely going to build from the experience that you had.
Oh yeah, and so many lessons, like you said, Kabula Diaries was born from a generic idea of creating a space where you create so many other activities, and it's something that has to be dynamic. It needs to evolve, it needs to grow, it needs to move, it needs to invite more dreamers, and that's why it's called Kabula Diaries, because that diary has to be written by so many other, faces and creatives and even just people just coming to watch it. So it will, obviously it has to happen every year, and then the monthly events, I think on the 20th, we're having like the Kabula Diaries Creative Convention, which will be a start of like almost like a new curriculum that we're trying to do as well. And then we can have more of these, which is not limited to 30 minutes or somewhere there, So it's very dynamic, and we are thinking that we need to keep pushing it and invite more dreamers in it. Yeah.
Wonderful, man. And this is where we have to end our podcast today. I would like to thank you so much for coming through. And apart from everything else you've said, thank you for giving me the tough task of mentioning the new name you want to start using now.
No, but it's not a new name. Like, this is the thing. Like, if you check my Twitter, it's that's the name, right? There's so many prints around. But
are you rebranding?
Who says I'm rebranding? No one has to say it.
Because no one has to say it.
Yeah,
but that's what you're doing here.
No.
You're giving us a task of rebranding.
No. I'm
because
not.
We've known you as Prince, others know you as Bongani, but now, of course, you're now starting to use your second name.
Yeah, like
surname a lot now.
Sooner or later, I'm going to say like Bambaga.
Is this testimony that we are growing up?
I don't know, man. Like I think for me, if it's in that context, okay, listen. Okay, you have to accept. Sometimes you have these thoughts that they don't make sense to anyone. Yeah,
true.
You know what I mean? Like it's just something you think about, and without even paying more attention to it, it's just like, you know what? That sounds cool. Yeah. So like now I just learned about slimes.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm just like
learning new things.
Next
every
thing
day.
I'm like, if I'm a slime. I don't even know what that is. Like I just know it sounds,
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, Chikweba has always been like that name. Okay, the reason why most of the time maybe it wasn't there because people mess up the pronunciation
The Chikweba,
and the spelling.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just like, you know what, sometimes just push people. Like they'll get there. Like, a Khaled is able to mention Chikweba now, which is fine. Like
After struggle.
yeah, but you struggled so that you can get it right. So let's
Yeah.
start it again. My
Yeah.
name is
Chikweba.
Chikweba.
That's the point now. Because I
Yeah.
cannot go there.
But you can.
Wah.
You can.
Yeah.
You will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More
but
like,
yeah. It's good to be back here.
Okay, great.
Yeah, man.
So Chikweba, thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming through. Otherwise, it's been great having you guys watch us. And if you got any comments, any suggestions, or if you'd like us to discuss any topic, please do so, because under the description of the video, we've put an email whereby you can get in touch with us, or if you have got any communication you'd like to share with us. This has been After Monday Podcast.